So in other words, I'll put it to you this way. A wise person lives their whole life around service,
Mhm.
that everything they think, breathe, and do is oriented to some form of meaningful contribution to, and it's not because they're simply ethical. It's a sign of wisdom.
Right.
Their whole life is giving. That does not mean they don't give to themselves. That would be an imbalance. They
Right.
give to themselves hygienic, good food, what a benefit of the doubt, their own best friend, forgiveness of themselves.
Yep.
But they're also, it becomes um, just the very nature of their existence to want to render meaningful contribution. So
Yep.
when you see people like when you observe in the world that people like say party or do various sports or this, okay, but they're like indulging in it, like
Right.
I you know they sir like they're addicted to it,
Yeah.
say. So what they're that's pure ego.
Yeah.
It's
I just
selfishness. It
actually
is
listened
pure.
to, have you ever heard of Ed Milet?
No.
He's a very powerful speaker and he has a podcast and all of the things. But anyway, I heard just that he did a little short video because he's kind of changed up the way he's done things here recently. But I've just heard this little short video of him talking about that exact thing. And he used the term people are hiding in it. He said, and he used the sports analogy that you just did. He said, if you're always so into sports to basically to the exclusion of everything else, like you can't even listen to your wife talk. He didn't say that, that's my words. But you can't even listen to your wife talk unless there's a commercial because you're so wrapped up in this game and you've got your jersey and you're like so into it and you use terms like we lost or we won. He's like, you're not on the team. You're like, you didn't win anything. You didn't lose anything. You're not on the team. He goes, and when you find that you're using terms like that, you're hiding in it. Like it becomes at
Well,
that
I would
point
say
some kind of
I
distraction.
would agree. I would agree with the word hiding, but I would include escaping,
Yes.
indulging. Indulging
Yeah.
is the key word I would use. Hiding, no, no, no. Kind of. Sorry. I mean, I don't disagree. Hiding. I
Right.
don't disagree with escaping. Indulging. They
Yeah.
they feel very entitled.
Yes.
Okay, so they're living completely in their ego. And what
Hmm.
they'll do often, those types of people are very addicted to marijuana and stuff. So like, oh, it's like a big kind of get high, go into that, come home, do what, beer and whatever. It's just, it's what they traditionally call hedonism. And it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of, we live in a free society. It's your prerogative, and it's your free will, but good luck with that. Because the truth is you're creating a ton of negative karma.
Right.
Or then there's goes into all kinds of categories, especially in ego personality cults, like just being seen and recognized and like special, or okay, the specialness thing. Then that's it's the universe knows who we are, where we're at. So it kind of, you might say, recognize, of course they do that. They're kind of at that level. So it's like not quite the same. So everything's known and measured, you might say, in a contextual awareness, because how would the universe not be aware of everything?
Oh, right.
But socially, culturally, it becomes popular or
Mhm.
personality cult. That's true of sports, like acting,
Mhm.
the special people kind of thing. Okay, and then so it goes on and on and on and on and on with all the various levels in which people indulge in the ego,
Right.
basically. And it's okay, is where's the middle, like where's the line? Where and we're not like trying to be holier than thou than ethical. It ultimately becomes a kind of wisdom
Yeah.
that basically, okay,
Yeah.
wisdom that you realize you're in a higher state of communion in
Right.
your life when your moment to moment interest is meaningful contribution.
Right. And that's one
It's
of the
not
things
too,
we
it's not,
chatted about before we started recording is that there's so many voices out there now on these social media platforms. And
yeah,
you have to really feel into, and I used that term earlier, you have to really feel into the people who are in alignment for you to be listening to. But it is
yeah.
my belief that it's not necessarily the expertise that makes them well known. It's the fact that they've stepped into the limelight and they've allowed themselves to be seen. So, because there are so many people that are allowing themselves to be seen now, it's really important to be very discerning with who you're listening to, because just because they're out there being seen doesn't necessarily mean they have the best information. They may have been in it longer. They may have this following because they have been out there longer, but that doesn't mean that the person that just started their YouTube channel and just started putting themselves out there doesn't have really great information and really great value also, and maybe
It
more
goes
aligned
like
with
that.
you. That's the important piece.
Ex exactly. It's like there's different, like in the, there's no, like, I always have this saying, there's no outcome to the drama of life. There's no final moment. There's no final, like somebody I was reading the other day said, we need a collective orgasm, she said, so that we all kind of awaken to this. I'm like, this is a hippie dream. You're missing the point. You're kind of thinking that it should be, your projection is that we should be all in it, like creating a global ashram. That's what
Right.
and we should all be kind of
Scoping it
meditating
out.
all day long.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you don't understand. It's no. Well, I'll just put it this way. In my point of view, no. It's meant to be a gritty, experiential,
Mm.
school-like environment, which needs almost ironically, invariably will include sort of what amounts to be the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And it the ugly could be like, I know that sounds like it's not like a supporting of crime and violence. No, not at
Right.
all. It's
No.
just in the dynamic of the school, which invariably is about power. It's like a in duality on this planet, at least, it's a power, it's the game of power.
Mhm.
And invariably, as I mentioned, empire is always on the march.
Right.
That like those larger, that's in astrology what we call the Capricorn impulse, the centralized control. Always wants to centralize the control the way astrology reveals itself, but it will never finally, it'll always be there, but there'll always be other factors against that. It's built in. So there's always going to be those pushing for that centralized control. Let's finally have the final war. And there'll always be those who are look like the rebels who are coming to disrupt that, but in fact are recognizing that the establishment has become an elite network,
Mm.
very limited. You can't get in. And
Right.
now, okay, privilege and corruption and favors and little handshakes, and we protect each other, don't we? But they're in a little network. It's not a human family. It becomes a very kind of self-congratulatory, justified elite network of we are the established, we deserved, we earned it, kind of thing. And it goes on and on and on. So yeah, I don't believe that there will ever be a final. I do believe we go through highs and lows and might collectively go to higher, glorious times, just like literally, ironically, believe it or not, we live in a time that's a higher, glorious time than it was in the 1800s, but it's full of difficulties still. So no matter how much it gets better, there's always new problems.
It's
And you think,
different.
when is
Yeah.
this? And it can make a person go crazy practically. So they're more focused on the problems. A lot of citizen journalists out there getting YouTube channels, they're just bad news endlessly,
Oh,
right? Endlessly getting attention on bad news. And I think on one hand, I admire their dedication, but let's face it, you're invested in bad news.
yeah.
And you're getting a lot of attention because
Oh, yeah. It's
bad news
oh,
sells. So anyway,
gloom and
yeah,
doom.
it goes on like the human drama, like it's a school. I go with that strongly of
Yeah.
experiencing, and it's meant to almost invariably be gritty.
Yeah.
And so it does. I have to admit, it does include tests and lessons. I must admit,
It is about
but
contrast.
like
Like I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I used this simple example of banging your pinky toe on a table leg or a corner cabinet or something as you're walking by, and how hurtful that is, and how like you'll have you jumping through the house like an idiot, saying every cuss word you remember, you know. But
yeah, oh yeah.
if you didn't have that contrast, how would you know your toes felt great most of the time? You know what I mean? Like if you've never had that experience. So we
Exactly.
have to have that contrast, you know. We don't
It's
like it. It
inevitable.
hurts like hell, but we gotta have it.
You could say that. You could say that, and it's inevitable that duality produces contrast. So it goes that both sides of that statement are true, is that invariably they're there. But then, as you're suggesting, it goes into choices of attitude,
Hmm.
perspective,
Yeah,
etc. And so we're all, having to work it, aren't we, with our choices, our
right.
responses. Not every day is as good as the next day. We all kind of go through moodiness like the weather. I think it's
Yes.
natural. Moodiness like the weather and, like the seasons, it's changing, moving up, down here, and so, but we are seeking to maintain an equilibrium. I mean, because there's just what we're creating in our own environment, then family members, then dynamics and dramas,
Hmm.
like then it's larger social collective things with, terrible things going on, wars and government corruption, and it goes on and on. So we're always subject to these stresses, right?
Yeah.
So, it comes full circle with the astrology, and I think I'll just bring it back for our own sake here because we've gone on and I think we've done well with this elaboration process. So thanks for that, by the way.
Yeah.
Just it
Right.
takes time to talk about these things, but they're worthwhile conversations to kind of help um, create more precision regarding certain words, because when we do, we have like it awakens us. We
Hmm.
become more clear, more conscious, more aware, more refined, more creatively, critically intelligent. I think is, less vague, less assumptive, less believing, less, projecting, limited notions. So,
Right.
it becomes education. The
Well,
astrology chart is, it kind of is about us in a way learning to mind our own business. Like, in other words, to be aware, to fulfill our own destiny.
yeah.
And it's not telling you what to do, it's trying to make you aware, and it proves itself because when it's done well, you feel empowered by it. You feel recognized, honored, respected. It's like if it's done well, you
Right.
go, that is so what I feel. And then if it brings new information that you didn't quite, it was a little subconscious or not even conscious at all, it creates what I call, we mentioned this earlier, alignment. A
Yes.
person comes into, whoa, that is so right. And then it can go into helping a person understand chapters of their life,
Yes.
when they're going to have turning points. And then the chapters don't just speak of events, by the way, and I'll leave it on these few notes. Maybe we can talk more about this another time. It talks about themes of destiny. And sometimes, unfortunately, the themes of destiny, quite frankly, can include karma. So we can arrive at a place that's not based merely on physics or what's called circumstantial reality. It's not just based on I made this choice, that choice, the other. Not that simple. Some karma is there stored. It's not mere like the causes and effects from past lives are stored, so they're not merely subject to consequences and choices and actions made now. So you can enter into a period of time that astrology can show, and it will show, oh my God, you're going to enter into what can be described as a karmic process. And it shows, this is a real mind bender for some people, a timeline. It has a timeline. It tells it's going to last this long.
Yeah.
Now you think, can I do something about that? I say yes, you can cope, manage, adapt, anything you can do possibly. And I'm just like, look, you aren't a bad person. You're a good person, but this karma that you inherited from
Mhm.
your soul's previous incarnations is here. And I kind of feel a little sad. I feel bad for them a bit. And it's not merely what they did yesterday or last year or in their life. It kind of comes in sort of what they call out of the blue. But
Right.
it's you can time. So we're very careful. We don't want to frighten a person. That's not always true. It can be just the opposite. It go, oh my God, there's this big packet of good karma that okay.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's extremely difficult, sometimes extremely positive, and and everything in between.
Sure.
It's just a whole yeah, it can be a whole mix of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that these are examples of what astrology A shows. And yes, the karma dharma, the karma and destiny theme is intrinsically woven in, and it's all part of a deeper law of existence, soul plan, and woven with time,
Yeah.
within time.
Yeah.
Then, and that when people understand that, they go, holy wow. That's what I would
It's
say.
amazing.
Um,
So does the
and
astrology, does it show the destiny of our planet? Is that something that you can see in it or
well, in a
is it more-
way, that's a good question, darn good question. It gets into when you get into the karma of the planet, like that would be what I would. Yes, the planet itself, no. Maybe not that I'm aware of strictly, but maybe. But of the human race, yes.
okay.
And that's a big statement to make, but that's where I would go into the ages, the age of Aquarius, the ages, okay, that we could talk about that another time, but the
Yeah.
big cycles, the big collective cycles, and that's why we're at a point when in history the big collective cycles, like of the age of Aquarius, which is this kind of like what I generally refer to as the sign of humanity.
Mhm.
It's the collective humanistic. That's why kind of synchronistically we've arrived. We would say it like that. Why? Synchronistically, we've arrived at this chaotic, complicated, critical evolutionary juncture that we're at.
Mhm.
That's why we're
Yeah.
here. It's not merely circumstantial. That's I was mentioning to Jill Hart, that there's a horizontal consciousness and a very linear perspective of realities. That's how it works.
Mhm.
But astrology goes, no, just like what I'm saying about this karmic bundle that's waiting for a person above and beyond choices made in a linear sense, horizontal consciousness.
Right.
What I'm talking about is called vertical consciousness. So there's horizontal, which is dominoes, this happened, that happened, the other cause and effect physics. But vertical consciousness is non-linear. It's metaphysical.
Right.
This is when you start talking like that, you start to really understand, and you start breaking away from merely thinking linearly or horizontally. Now you start to think archetypally and synchronistically.
Yeah.
That's what astrology in its, I believe in among its highest reaches, that's what it teaches us to be aware of. and it gets and invariably to understand, to help people be aware and understand and have the conversation, you can hardly escape the usage of the words destiny and karma.
That's
It's just
amazing.
part of the ball of
Yes.
wax. It's just inescapable. And having studied those words, karma and destiny, for many, many years, I feel quite able to offer, like, call it a kind of authority. I can say it with some experiential authority. Do I think I finally defined them? No. Do I think what we talked about today encompasses a very deep, rich encompass? Yes, I
Mhm.
do. I think we did a good job of
Yeah.
it. And, so it can help people to, positively speaking, awaken to be more open and to redirect their focus, choices, investments into, well, admittedly, good astrology for one, but also all the network also of people like yourself, like who are out there helping facilitate the journey in a conscious way, in this higher attunement way, so they become more willing and more appreciative, and the attitude of where their money is best invested.
Yeah.
We're not talking like, we're like going to astrologers or going good astrology, coaching, and helpers of all kinds, healers. It's funny because, people will go on one vacation for 2 weeks or one cruise, and it costs more than they'll ever spend on that in their life.
Yeah.
But they will justify kind of that kind of shallow hedonistic behavior as valuable, not realizing that they're robbing themselves. It's kind of it's a kind of an awareness, attitude, and wisdom that comes with realizing where the investment of their time and money
Yeah.
is
Oh,
is
yeah.
given. Yeah.
I'm totally on the
So
same page with you because I feel like I always say, I love sharing the things that I listen to with people, with, like podcasts and interviews and things like that. I love sharing stuff like that with people. Not everyone is willing to or ready to do the inner work, but at the end of the day, that is the best investment in your time and
it's
energy that you can ever make, hands down. And I just like, without fear of contradiction, I can say that. Like, I mean, there will be people who will want to argue the point, but hands down, that is the best investment you can make, is doing the inner work.
just to be clear, and that was a very good point. Some final words, because I know we've been going on. It goes like this. Inner work is achieved by awareness. And so don't assume that you can simply meditate and achieve inner work.
A hundred
No,
percent.
you're kind of groping in the dark at worst, and it's going to be a very slow process. And I've encountered quite a handful of people who are very involved with spiritual teachers and meditating, but I can tell they're still not evolving. They're not aware. They're
Yeah.
not as awake, aware, in tune, on purpose, in alignment as you would think they would be.
Yeah.
They're kind of locked in a kind of an assuming, almost like a kind of a big ball of assumption that by association and they do this. That's not inner work. It's not a big surprise that Carl Jung, which was, the very much very brilliant, pivotal person, and he very significantly contributed to the notion of shadow work,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
But he, not surprisingly, he very, very significantly devoted a lot of his interest, studies, and attention to astrology, tarot, numerology, and
Yeah.
and archetypal principles generally. so because he knew those were the tools
Yeah.
that would contribute to, so if you wanted, the inner work is largely being aware, which can be made aware with this knowledge, and then aligned, and then nurtured and supported along the way.
Yeah.
It's all basically like that. But without that, people get lost in fluffy notions that they meditate and do yoga, and that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
like,
I
no, you're
totally
not.
agree with you. I've had a lot of insights come to me through meditation, so I highly value meditation as a practice.
Oh,
However, it
yes.
is
Oh, yeah.
not where the bulk of my change has come from. It is not. It is
Exactly.
not. I've done lots of things that I've been sitting at the table journaling or, and just had this awareness or listened to somebody because our energy is different each day. So, like you said about, watching, I believe it was you who said about watching a movie and you get something different from it each time you watch it or read a book. Didn't you just say that in our conversation today? So
Oh,
it's like
yes.
that, like that information hits you different and you'll just have this epiphany. I think that for me anyway, the biggest part of it has been allowing myself to see it so that I can then
Yeah.
create the change, and having that
Yeah.
awareness. And that's what it is, being like having your antenna up all the time to bring that information in. And it doesn't always happen during meditation. I mean, you can get some beautiful information there and
Exactly.
it's a great practice, but it's not always
Oh,
the
yes.
be all and end all of everything, I should say.
It's sort of like spokes on a wheel, and the meditation and the various spiritual practices are good,
Hmm.
definitely. I don't mean to convey for a moment that I don't think they're good. It's
Right.
just that they at worst create a kind of a closure of the mind at some level to a wider spectrum of spokes on the same
Yeah.
wheel that will very significantly contribute to the entire process of their awakening, of their awareness, of their alignment, of their choosing. So yeah, they're all valuable, but without other tools, and I must admit, I come back to astrology and numerology, and of course, it's a bit of my bias. It's of course, but and it's not necessary, but will significantly increase. Can significantly increase a person's awareness to what and when, and if they're really interested, it kind of dips into why,
Right.
which gets back to the karma and destiny. It
Yeah.
comes back, and which gets this whole principle of soul plan and round we go here, right? So, okay, so let's maybe, or I'll say that's what I wanted to share.
Yeah.
And there's more to say and elaboration and yeah, there's when you get into astrology, the techniques of how to do it, it's a whole other conversation. Won't do
Oh, I'm
that
sure.
today. We're just around it and about it, right?
Yes.
But yeah, uh, so there we go, and thank you,
Yes, you're
Dee,
welcome.
for
Thank you too.
yeah,
I appreciate you so
welcome.
much. We will
All
be
my
back to do
pleasure.
it
Thank
again.
you.
Another topic,
Yeah,
another deep dive into something different next time. So thank you so
yes,
much for
yes.
being here.
Now, like we're building, I think what we've done with these three, the listeners might be aware that since our first chat and then the second and now the third one, they can see each one has built upon the other,
Yes.
right? It's just so it's worked quite well that way. It's organic. And so there's a nice continuum practically to the point of the, the first one being part one and two, the second being part two, three and four, and this one being five and six practically.
Yeah.
That if they saw it, then they would, if by listening to my think, they would go, right, now I understand more, and it will, I think, help people be able to see through clearer, and then, yeah, it'll help them basically guide their wisdom. Because wisdom, and I know we said this and we're going on once again, is the wisdom really comes down to investments that bring you positive returns
Yep.
of your time, your energy, your focus. And it's not simply knowledge, it comes down to that keyword attitude,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so the attitude of gratitude for being a part of the journey
Yeah.
to evolve at all. And then when you have that and you go, wow, I'm going to invest my time and energy because that's kind of what it's about,
Yeah. Oh,
right?
100%.
That's what it's about. Then they go, now I have a new awareness, a new attitude, and I have reason to reconsider where I direct my time, energy, and money
Yep.
to invest in my journey. And yeah, that, and it doesn't hurt to say on a final word that in doing it well, any of us, not only are we ourselves generating more healthy, happy, and generating good karma, but we also are thereby, when we're in alignment with our truth and living it in this way, invariably others will benefit.
Yes.
So if we're wondering what we can do for the world, it's become aligned with your authentic destiny, nature, and yes, it can include understanding your karma, but be aligned, and
Yes.
then invariably you'll make meaningful contributions, and the solutions you want to see in the world will be achieved not by hoping and wanting some hero. This is where the it comes, and it goes on here, but this is where Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, was trying to say that. That's why he was very aware, good man. And he said, remember, a hero with 1,000 faces means you are the hero,
Yeah.
you and I, right? And it
Yes.
goes, that's what the tarot is all about, the fool in the tarot. And that's where it stems from. That the tarot, the fool's on a journey of learning through stages, and it's very kind of logical and it has a plan. So yeah, but the hero with 1,000 faces means we each can be the hero
Yep.
contributing to the cause of
Exactly.
collective awareness, happiness, health, harmony. So
Yep.
there we go.
Very good. I love it. That's a great point to
Lovely.
close on. So thank you again, Michael,
It
for being
is.
here and having this
Well, thank you.
amazing intellectual deep dive. They're my favorite, you know that conversation today.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Me too for you. I appreciate
Yes.
you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you very
everyone, for
much.
showing
Okay,
up
maybe
and hanging with us on this beautiful episode of Spiritually Speaking. If you would love to have a deep dive into your own karma dharma, I will be putting Michael's website link in the comments or the description box below the video so you can connect with him and find out about your own soul path and your own karma and destiny. And how beautiful would that be? So thank you again for being here. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Please like, share, and subscribe so we can get this message out to even more people. That's what helps us do that. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I love you all, and we will see you on the next one.